Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you.
Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Nim.
I'm Priya.
And today we're going to be talking about
something a bit controversial. We wanted to talk a little bit about women or brides and wedding planning. Is it actually harder for them, or is it just perceived that way? Why is it always known as the bride's big day and not the groom's big day? And yeah, like I feel like no one really asks like grooms, like, how are you feeling? Are you ready for your big day? Like, what are you stressed about? Everything is really bride focused.
No one ever asked me.
Yeah, no one. I don't think anyone did ever ask you. Are you sad about that?
Yeah.
Do you?
Keep me awake at night.
Just wondering why no one ever asked how you felt about the wedding.
Yeah, no one cared about my feelings during the wedding.
But it's quite interesting, isn't it? And I feel like, obviously, there's a narrative, generally speaking, and I think everything we say in this episode is very broadly speaking. There's obviously different exceptions and different types of couples, but I would say, generally speaking, it is women that take the lead and it's brides that take the lead, and there is a massive mental load in what they have to do. And I thought it'd just be good to dissect it and just kind of see, and I think it's quite good because we've both got married and obviously we have a bride and groom's point of view, so it'd be good to know, I guess, what was going through your head during planning. Which in my head is just that
tumbleweed.
Literally just like,
no, it's funny because obviously like now I'm like in wedding planning and coordination, so it's very different. But I look back on our wedding planning journey and I would like to think I was quite involved in the wedding planning process. This is where you then say, yes, I was. No, but you know what it is? I wasn't involved up until like the 2 months before. Like for me, I can't think about something for like a year beforehand and just kind of go over the same things over and over again and like whittle it down. I'm like, I would rather get involved in things which are like, okay, cool, 2 months before the wedding, great, like let's make some decisions about, you know, exactly what the food menu is, exactly who the, like when the DJ is doing XYZ, exactly which rooms people are being allocated to, you know, where we're getting the alcohol from and what day we're getting it and how we're delivering it. All these sorts of things. Like, okay, now we know all of the guests, like I'll allocate the seating plan and make sure that people are sitting next to people they want to and all these kind of different things. Whereas the things that happen a lot earlier on, and granted, you know, you have to make a lot of decisions for these shorter term decisions to have been made. You need to have picked the DJ, you need to have picked the venue, you need to have sent out the invites, all of these different things. But I think, I can't. And again, I'm speaking as if I am like the voice of every groom, but I actually do think I am. Not the voice of every groom, but no, but the grooms the grooms that we have as our clients, like I relate to them a lot because I can see how they are during the wedding planning process, like not really super involved. They're like, their focus is on the generic, like, the alcohol count and like where their mates are and like something about like their parents and their tux for the evening and like all of these like different things. Like I relate to them quite a bit, and I think for women, for brides, it's just different.
I think it's because, and I remember this, like when we first were planning our wedding, your priority was literally, I want all my friends in the same hotel as me. And I was like, well, that's not really the point of getting married. Like, yes, obviously it's great to have your friends around you. But actually we're planning a wedding, but we're actually coming together for a marriage and our families are coming together and for like hopefully the rest of our lives. So it's a very big, deep thing. And I think women just deep that way more than men do, I think. And so I think that's why men are just focused on the fact that it's a big party, they're buzzing for their friends to be together, they want everyone to be in the same hotel so they can like have an after party. Whereas I think women are like obviously excited about the general aesthetics and like planning, but actually it's this big momentous milestone occasion that a lot of them have been thinking about since they were young. And so that's why there's a lot more pressure on them and a lot more, I guess, like just time and effort that goes into it.
But I guess what I'm taking from what you're saying, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, is that the reason it's harder for women is because they've almost put this pressure on themselves for it to be this big thing. Like I don't know any groom who sooner than 2 years before their wedding, thought that deeply about their wedding.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, very broadly speaking, I think most women, have thought about their wedding to some degree.
Yeah.
At some point during their childhood or their
Yeah.
teenage years.
Yeah.
Whether that be the venue, the location, their dress. And then as they get a little bit older, they'll think about who their makeup artist is going to be and where they're going to go on their hen and all these kind of different factors,
Yeah.
and like who's going to walk them down the aisle in terms of family member, and then what song they're going to have their first dance to before you knew who you had like your first dance song or a dance song that you'd want your future husband to dance with you with, like way before we were even going out.
Yeah.
Which are just thoughts that I don't think your average groom has, and therefore we're not putting any pressure on it aside from, oh, I've been to a few weddings,
yeah,
and I want to make sure I have a good time, and
Yeah.
I want the equivalent of me at these weddings, which is my friends, to be having a good time.
But I think my point was more, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think grooms deep what a wedding means the way that brides do.
No, what you're saying is grooms don't deep what a wedding means to the bride.
No, but I mean, no, I don't even mean to the bride. I mean, like, coming together, like, this is now going to be my person.
But that's marriage, not a wedding.
But both a wedding then takes you into marriage, right? So I don't think grooms are deeping like past the wedding. Really, they're just kind of like,
you don't have to have a wedding to get married.
Yeah, I know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have created, not you, the industry, we have created this thing of the wedding has to be this like big momentous occasion,
Yeah.
which I think it should be, and which is why we're in a job. But the pressure that you put on yourselves as brides, generally speaking, I think is pressure that you have put on yourselves. Exactly what I said.
True, but I think from ourselves, and I think from seeing most couples,
Yeah.
half that pressure comes from ourselves, but half that pressure comes from women just taking the mental load and like taking the initiative.
Yeah.
To be like, right, I found the best 4 decor companies that I think would suit our venue. I've inquired with them. I found the 4 best DJs. I've inquired with like 10 different venues. It's very rare. We have seen some grooms that take the lead,
Yeah.
probably like 2 or 3 last year, and they were properly like.
But that's out of what,
in it.
like,
Yeah, like
50?
hundreds. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So, but the
not 50,
majority
yeah,
of
way
the
more
time,
than 50, like 75,
yeah,
100.
yeah. And so my
1,000.
point is, but grooms don't do that. Grooms are quite happy to just kind of like the majority of what I see to just like plod along and like wait until the bride gives the options. And then sometimes she might ask their opinion. A lot of the time they don't really know, or they don't really have much to say. So the bride has to take the lead because the grooms don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the pressure comes from as well, I think. Like, yeah, I think they initiate it, but then I think also grooms aren't the most like forthcoming with this stuff.
Yeah. I think it's quite hard to put as much effort into something that you don't have the same amount of, I wouldn't say care for, but that you don't hold to the same level of importance. And I'm not saying that grooms don't think their wedding is important, but I think, exactly what I said earlier about like the amount of time that you spent thinking about your wedding. Therefore, you're willing to then spend a year going back and forth with photographers, videographers, caterers, DJs, all these different people.
Yeah.
Whereas a groom is like, you know what, I want to have a really good time on that day, and I want it to be a really fantastic occasion.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna spend 2 years planning it and going over it over and over again.
But I don't think it's even going over and over again. I think at the beginning it's just like doing the research to look at like different companies, get different quotes, compare them. Like, I just don't see very many grooms doing that. Like, they just don't. They will get involved. They will honestly only get involved with alcohol and sometimes DJ.
This is so like stereotyping. We
But
are
no,
stereotyping so much.
Broadly speaking, last year we had like a few grooms that took the lead completely, and that was actually really refreshing to see. And they were like, "Oh, what color tablecloth do you think, Priya?" And I was like, "This is wild that I'm having this discussion with you, but I love it." But I just think the majority of the time, and I think it's fine because for most of the time, brides get on with it, or they don't care, or sometimes they don't really want the groom's opinion because it's just easier to go whatever they want and it makes life easier. But sometimes I do get DMs from people and they're like, my fiance isn't involved, it's not really fun because I feel like I'm doing it by myself. He's not really taking an interest, he just says that he doesn't really mind for everything, so it just feels really one-sided. So in those situations I feel like, oh, it's sad because you still want to feel like you're doing it together.
I agree with what you're saying, but this reminds me of the conversation we had on the pod about mother-in-laws, and about, you gave an example of a bride who said that her mother-in-law didn't take any interest in her wedding, and she was upset by that. And I felt, and a lot of the people who commented on the viral TikTok felt that actually you're never going to be happy, because if she was too involved, you'd be annoyed that she was getting too involved.
Yeah.
I think, from what you said earlier, a bride has been thinking about this wedding for 10 years, 15 years, since she was a child.
Yeah. Has
this vision of what it's going to be like. That in itself, you know, for you to have such a strong vision, or, you know, typically have such a strong vision, but then if that has to then be combined with somebody else's vision, it's not going to work. I mean, it can. I mean, ultimately, there will be a bit of like give and take.
Yeah.
But if two people grew up having such strong visions together and then came together at the end, like, neither party is going to be completely happy. And I think that's broadly why grooms are like, look, okay, you pick sort of the sort of stuff and I'll narrow it down, and then I'll help with, you know, the final decisions of the logistics. That's how I felt anyway.
Yeah.
As the voice of the grooms.
That's fair. I mean, how do you think then brides can get grooms more involved with the planning? Or like make it fun? Because sometimes it's really overwhelming as a bride to be like, or like, I don't know what colour scheme to go for, I don't know what tablecloths to go for, like, I don't know. Like, some brides know what they want and they're like a bit like me, just go for it. And some are like, they just need a bit more support. Or they just don't want to feel like they're doing it all by themselves, because it can feel really isolating. We talked about this on the Bridesmaid pod. Like, it can feel really isolating and overwhelming to be doing it all alone.
Yeah.
So like, what are ways you can suggest that to get grooms more involved or more
excited? Yeah, but I'm going to say
by
something which is you are going to tell me off for afterwards.
What?
And I don't think it's going to be perceived that well. But I'm like, if you're putting this much pressure on yourself, and I'm not like victim blaming or bride blaming, but if you're feeling so much pressure on it, first of all, book a planner, i.e. us, because then we'll take some of that pressure off you. But aside from that, if you're feeling that much pressure on yourself, you don't feel like your groom is like being that supportive, it's a year and a half away, your family or your maid of honor isn't helping that much, why are you having such a elaborate or complicated wedding? Unless you're saying they can't even organize a really basic wedding, in which case you definitely should hire us if you need help, because it sounds like you need help. But if you're putting so much pressure because you're like, I need to all of these different things, I don't know I can't tell my head from my arse, I don't know where to start, they're just like, just do something low key. Like, why are you getting stressed out? Just get married at a venue that you know is affordable. Just have your standard whatever.
But what if you
ceremony.
don't want that? What if you want a really nice wedding and you want
Then
your
get a
groom to
planner.
be involved?
Honestly, just get a planner.
Yeah,
but
I
if
mean,
your
maybe
partner
that
isn't giving that to you,
yeah,
I don't think you can force your
sit
partner
on
to
them,
then
yeah.
suddenly become that person, because it's that they'll do it for a bit. I'm really just saying my inner thoughts.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds like
they'll do it
conversation me and you.
They'll do it for a bit, but then they might then start resenting you because like they're being forced to do it.
Yeah.
It's different if they've like adapted. It's never in their nature, but they've adapted because they're like, oh, you know what, my partner really cares about this, and like, I'm going to make a massive effort to do that. In which case, this conversation's null and void. But clearly, in this situation that you're describing, that isn't happening. And you're saying, how would the bride get the groom to do that? But I think if you're having to like trick him into helping you, or like,
I don't think it's tricking. I think it's just like, how do you make it fun, like authentically? Like, I would say, like, once a month have a date night that's not to do with wedding planning, so he doesn't feel like, because sometimes it can then feel like all consuming and all you talk about is wedding planning, and it can be stressful. It can be stressful talking about money as well all the time and worrying about money and like trying to buy a house and like whatever else. So I think have a date night once a month that you don't talk about wedding stuff, and it has to be completely a wedding free zone, and that way it allows you to stay connected and, you know, remember why you're getting married. But then I think try and make some of the parts of wedding planning fun, like cocktail tasting, food tasting, even like,
yeah, but you're not saying how to make these things fun. You're just describing things that are fun in the
but like
process.
make a whole day of it. So if you're doing cocktail tasting, don't drive. If you're gonna be like, oh, I have to drive there, so I'm just gonna try a sip and that's it. Like, make it a thing. Like, why doesn't that be your date night in terms of like go and like, if you guys like drinking, like get drunk together. Like, we got really drunk at our cocktail tasting. My poor sister had to drive us there and back. But like, yeah, like make it fun, and then like go for dinner after, and like make that like a whole evening thing. And like food tasting, obviously I know you might have to take your families, but maybe the initial tasting just you two go, so you can narrow it down to whoever you want to narrow it down to, and then bring your families afterwards to help choose dishes.
Yeah.
Even like if you were going to go and help him pick his suit or his outfit, make that a whole day thing, or like an evening thing, like go suit shopping and then go and grab dinner and drinks, or like drinks afterwards. And like, I know you're saving, so don't make it bougie. You can just go to like the local pub, but I think it's more just making it feel like you're spending time together, and it's not just like rush shop and then like go home and then be tired and moody. Like, try and like have fun with it. And we see a lot of deflated couples halfway through the planning that are just so over it, and I'm like, guys, like, you're probably gonna miss parts of this, not the whole thing, but you are gonna miss parts of it. So like, where you can, the bits that should be fun, make sure you make them fun, because it's very easy to see them as tick box things, and then you just do it, you rush it, and then you're like, whatever. But like, even like, for example, going to pick your actual wedding band, like we went into London a few times and we went out afterwards, and like, it's just nice to like make those wedding tasks a date night as well.
I think I agree with what you're saying. I think, to summarize what you're saying, is that don't just kind of every weekday after work sit in your living room if you live together and then just get out Excel spreadsheets and just bang your heads together. I think, like you said, like, leave the house, do something, like for example, on a Sunday morning, go for a gym class, and then like take your laptops, put it in your locker if that's safe, and then just sit at a coffee shop and then just do a bit of like wedmin then. Like when your like endorphins have been released and they're running and you just feel a bit better. Or like you said, that you go suit shopping, go for dinner afterwards, and chat about it then. But then also have times when you explicitly won't talk about weddings.
Especially if you're living together as well. Like, it can feel really intense that all you're doing is talking it, living it, breathing it, and it just can feel a lot.
And it can make you resent the wedding day. It can make you resent the upcoming time, and a lot of couples often say that they kind of just want it to be over, and that's really sad to hear.
Yeah, no, it is. And like, I know there's different ends of the spectrum, whereas I was a massive wedding lover and everything bridal lover, and you know, you don't have to be on that end, but you should at least be like halfway-ish. Like, you shouldn't be hating every second of it, because then you might as well just not do a wedding. Just elope, go to Vegas. Would love to plan a Vegas like elopement, so if anyone wants that, hit me up. But just do something fun and different, and like, don't bother with all the rest of it, because it's not worth it otherwise. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was kind of like, there's that pressure from brides, right, where you feel like for the most part you're leading on everything, you're taking initiative. Your fiance probably is only leading on a couple of things and will only really come to life a couple of months before the wedding, really and truly, because his to-do list is about like 3 lines long. So you're kind of leading on it. You're also most likely working full-time. So trying to balance working full-time and wedding planning is really hard, because half your suppliers can't do evening calls or weekend calls. You've got to figure out where to take it in your lunch break. You've got to rush to your car. Some of our brides like rush to their cars, like have a quick call, and like, it's a lot trying to balance that. And then you feel like there's no break, because when you're not working, you're wedding planning. When you're not wedding planning, you're working. And then on weekends, you have to rush from appointment to appointment. And it's really, really intense, right? So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is the pressure that she feels from either society or social media. In terms of like how she should look on like the wedding day. Most brides, there's an expectation from themselves and from what they think they should do in terms of like losing weight or being a certain size for their dress or for their outfit. Then it's like skin health and like beauty stuff. Like, the majority of people, when they're trying these treatments, it's in the lead up to their wedding, whether that's skin stuff, teeth whitening, straightening, like all these things. So you're then trying to balance that.
I think that's the thing that I've realized, especially now that I'm putting all of our podcasts on Instagram and TikTok, and my algorithm is now full of like bride related things. The pressure that brides have, I won't say put on themselves, because I feel like I'm like bride blaming, but the pressure on brides to look a certain way, feel a certain way, be in a certain, there's this pressure that they have to be the best version of themselves on the day. And I get it, because granted, it's supposed to be the most important day of your life, but that doesn't exist as much for grooms. Like, most grooms would, want to look in shape and get a haircut and stuff. But like, it's a very few and far between grooms who are doing like drastic things. Like, they might like lose weight. But I don't know that many grooms who are like doing some like new skincare routine and kind of, I don't want to say punishing themselves, but like punishing themselves by like not eating or like being in a massive calorie deficit. And having to look a certain way. And I just think it's for grooms, it's very much just like look good on the day.
But
just don't look bad, basically.
But I also think your outfits are generally a lot more forgiving. Like, whereas brides, a lot of the time, not always, but they can be wearing quite figure hugging or revealing outfits. So like, you do want to feel your best, and there is this pressure where you feel like you have to be in the best shape of your life. Your skin has to be in the best like shape of your life. Like, everything has to be like the best that it's ever been.
Yeah. But the problem with that, and I get like, yes, because these photos are going to last forever and these videos are going to last forever, and you're going to look back on them with such fond memories. But the problem is that in the lead up, you might feel really crap if you're like not eating very much. But then also afterwards, inevitably, unless you're like, you've suddenly like turned your life around and suddenly can maintain this like whatever you're doing to stay healthy. But you're probably doing something which is quite extreme if you're doing it specifically for your wedding.
Yeah.
So then afterwards, you're only really setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Well, I mean, yeah, because you say these things. You're like, oh, I looked so amazing on my wedding day. And
I don't say that in like a narcissistic
No, but like, you're like, that's the best I've ever looked.
Yeah.
But like, I think you look great all the time. But at the same time, I'm like, but I remember that you were working out like to a stupid degree, and also like restricting what you were eating to the point that it wasn't really compatible with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Therefore, how are you going to end up looking like that forever or for a long period of time after, right?
Yeah.
I
guess it's a double-edged sword, because if you feel like you're in the best shape of your life, and like, I got a PT about 6 weeks before, I obviously worked out, like you said, like maybe like 5-6 times a week. I did some like skin brightening treatments, obviously whitening, things like that. And it was great, and I'm really glad that I did, because I like look back at pictures and I'm happy with how I looked and everything. But then it's also like a bit sad when I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh my god, have I passed the peak of like being in the best shape of my life? But like you said, when you're prepping for your wedding, particularly in those 2 months before when everything ramps up, that is all you're thinking about. That is what your life revolves around.
Yeah.
So you can dedicate all this time and all this effort and money or whatever to these things. But when after you're married, life continues, and then obviously you can't necessarily not always be working out the same way or doing the same treatments, because obviously you move on to buy a house or plan a honeymoon or like whatever else. So I don't know, but I think everything on the internet makes you feel like you should be doing these things. But I also think on the flip side, regardless of it being pressure you put on yourself, I think if you genuinely feel like you look good and you can see you've made a difference in terms of your like figure or your skin or what your, I don't know, like it shows in how you are on the day. Like, I've seen really confident brides that are really happy with the way that they look and their hair and their makeup and their outfit and everything, and it just shines because they're just happy and they're like really bubbly and they are glowing. Then I've seen brides who I can tell aren't happy, and it's sad. It's really sad to see.
But how do you know what their baseline is? Isn't just based off like previous consults?
I mean, it's not. I'm not even talking about like weight loss or anything. It could even just be like the kind of outfit that they're wearing, or maybe the hair and makeup that they've opted for. Like, they don't like. You can just tell when a bride's not feeling herself, and you can just tell she's not walking confidently. She's not acting confidently. You can tell in pictures she's like over analyzing. But can I just see that? Oh God, I hate that. Like, and it's sad to see. So I actually think, as much as you do put a lot of pressure on yourself, I think pick the things that are important to you. Like, if you really want your skin to be amazing, let's say you've got textured skin or you've had skin issues, then really focus on your skin in that 6 months to a year before, to be consistent with it, and then try and get it to, you know, the best that it can be, so that your makeup is amazing and you feel confident with everything. In terms of like, if it's stuff to do with your weight, then again, like we said, try not to be extreme. Like, start thinking about that a year before, 6 months before, and getting into healthy habits that you can hopefully sustain afterwards. But I think either way, like, if these things are going to make you feel more confident on your wedding day, then I don't think you shouldn't do them. But I think it has to be done for the right reasons, like because you actually want it, not because people around you have done it or you think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I get the point that you're making, and yeah, I think broadly speaking, you're making a lot of sense. But what is the right reasons? I mean, ultimately, you're doing it. What do you mean doing it? Yeah, what do you mean by doing it for the right reasons? Or doing it like for yourself?
As in, like, you do it because you like, that's something you want to, like, you want to do. Like, if you are already conscious of your skin generally, and you're like, right, like, I actually want to make sure, like for example,
but that in itself, you're saying you're doing it because you're conscious of your skin, but you can't see your own skin, so you're doing it because of what other people can see.
No, but like you see yourself in pictures, you see yourself in the mirror, you know it's there, right? So like, obviously you are conscious of it.
Yeah. So is that the right reason?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that you should just. Yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is the pressure that you put on yourself. Just make sure that you're not doing it to a point where it's unsustainable afterwards. I think just be healthy, be confident, feel
Happy.
yourself on the wedding day.
Yeah.
But not. Yeah. I just like what you said earlier about it being a double-edged sword. Like you want to look your best on the wedding day, and you don't want to not look your best because then you won't want to look at your wedding pictures. But then you also don't want to look back at your wedding pictures and be like you said, that was my peak. It's only downhill from here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the right answer is. But if I had to pick between looking back at my wedding pictures and being like, oh God, I hate them, or looking back at them and be like, oh, I feel like I look good here, I would obviously rather pick that option, right?
Yeah.
So I just think, but I also just think if there are things that are bothering you, whether it's like if your teeth aren't straight or whatever, like something that has been bothering you for a while, you've been umming and ahhing about it, I do think your wedding is a good time to do it. I don't think you'll regret having it done for your wedding. And I treat a lot of brides like in practice, and like actually not even just brides, like father of brides, mothers of brides, things like that before a wedding, because they're like, I've been wanting to do this for years and needed the right time, now it's come, and then they're just so happy they did it, like, and because for pictures, for confidence, and just I think it makes a huge difference. So I feel like just make sure you give yourself enough time, and just do things that you actually genuinely want to do. But I'm all for it. I just think it shouldn't just be because of social media and because of what your friends do. But like in comparison, like we touched on it, I don't think grooms feel any of that.
No, I don't think they do.
I honestly think they just like turn up, buy a nice cologne, spray that, maybe get their hair cut the day before.
Yeah, sometimes it's a few days before you have to plan like when it looks best. It's not always best when you've just got a haircut. For some people it is. They might have a haircut on the day.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just think it's a different world. I don't think guys... But I also think, again, that comes from the fact that guys don't look that different on their wedding day. Like, the only difference could be that it might be a different colour suit. Other than that, they can't look the same as they would every other day, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for women, for the most part, I'm not saying you look completely different, but you look like a queen, hopefully.
Yeah, but is that the woman that the groom fell in love with? Are you not setting an unachievable standard? What, you're saying that
they're like catfish?
Yeah, you're not setting an unachievable standard that you'll never be able to reach again.
No, you just want to look good on your wedding day.
But that's not who... Did you look like that the first time you and the groom met?
I thought you were talking about me. And I was thinking about us at uni, and I was like, definitely not in my dance clothes. No, but I also don't think grooms are going to complain about how women look on their wedding day.
I'm messing.
I was going to get the next point. I also think another controversial point is I feel like, and maybe it's because brides are generally the one leading the wedding planning, but I also feel like brides get more of the judgment or the like comments or the feedback than grooms do.
Yeah.
Like,
but what would those comments be? This sounds really bad, but it's going to be like about their figure, right?
No, I'm not even talking about how they look, but like it could just be anything about the wedding. Like
the
food.
Okay. I really read that wrong. Yeah, obviously. I never have an opinion on that. But yeah.
Like, I mean, like the food or like the venue type, the decor. Like, I feel like people are naturally going to like it. It always comes down to the bride. I
don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
We think it just goes down to the groom or to the couple?
I mean, I think culturally, actually, it goes... Parents think that it's on them.
Yeah.
So that's why they take offence to a lot of things. So, for example, if it's a small venue and only 200 people can fit and they actually wanted there to be like 500 people, they will take it upon themselves to be like, oh no, we've insulted everybody because we picked this venue. Or if the food's not good, I feel like... again, I don't know if we're stereotyping, but I think that's like a parent's and groom thing. Like, I would be like, oh shit, if the food's not good.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you would just be like, oh.
I don't really care.
Yeah, it's like, whatever. I wasn't planning to eat today anyway.
Yeah, no, maybe that's true. But I just think maybe because people assume the bride's planned it all, so then maybe sometimes people just automatically put the blame with her. I mean, nobody should be judging weddings anyway, but unfortunately it's just what happens. And I just feel like sometimes I think brides carry that pressure where they're like, oh, what will people say? How will it look? And that's like an additional thing. Basically, there's just loads of layers of pressure on brides that I don't think grooms understand. I think you only understand it a bit more now, like you said, since working in Pristine, being surrounded by a lot of brides, obviously podcast staff. Like, I feel like you get it a bit more. But your average groom won't understand it. Like, he just kind of shows up, quite happy on the day because he's had a real stress-free journey, gets into a nice suit and then has a party with his friends, and that's it.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's a bad way to be, in that, yes, there's an element of it being ignorant because the bride is probably super stressed if he's like super chill. If they're both super chill, then it's probably not getting organised properly. But I just think that, okay, aside from the stress that he might be taking from his partner, he has enjoyed that experience, right?
So what you're saying is it's okay if the bride's stressed and hasn't enjoyed it?
Well, no, what I'm saying is I think the bride needs to try and enjoy the experience more.
Yeah, but my point is...
And try not to feel under such pressure.
Yeah.
And if they can't get a planner to put some of the stress onto, have family or friends that they can't put the stress onto, or put some of the stress onto their partner,
then just don't have a wedding.
Then yeah, elope.
Yeah, I said that. I'm all for Vegas weddings, guys. Please, can someone do a Vegas wedding? I'll come and coordinate. I mean, I think like when we were looking at our own wedding, I feel like I didn't really delegate that much to you. I just kind of...
What?
As in like in the planning stages. Obviously in the last few months you did all the logistics stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't like, Nim, can you research the decor companies and let me know like which ones you think are best for our vibe?
Yeah, but this goes back to what we said earlier. Like, you had a vision for the wedding that I didn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
So you asking me to do these things, which I don't have a strong opinion on, would just be a waste of time for everyone involved. And I think that's why grooms don't do it. And that's why there's certain things that grooms can't help with. Like, if you don't have a care for decor, photo, video, I mean, I'm again generalizing here, but like the kind of things that like I didn't have that strong an opinion on.
What options you came up with.
And like color scheme, like things like that. They like venue, yes. Like I think the groom should, like, that is where you're getting married. I think you should have some opinion on that. But like the other things, it's with great power comes great responsibility, Priya. And if like as the bride, you're going to have this vision and you're going to want to execute it to a certain standard and have it take place the way that you want it to, I don't think you want somebody else's opinion. I don't think you want the groom to muscle in on that.
Yeah, I get it. I just think if the bride is asking you to do certain things, then just help her out a bit.
Are we talking about the bride and the groom? Or are we talking about you and me?
I mean, both.
Right, okay.
But I just feel like you should just help her out a bit. Like if she's asked you to do something, and even if you can't help with that specific task, like let's say decor, then just be cute, be romantic, and be like, do you know what? I'm planning a surprise date night for you this weekend.
We've gone so far away from bride and grooms, and we're just talking about what you want from me.
No, I'm saying he needs to be like, I'm planning a surprise date night for you this weekend where we're not going to talk about wedding stuff, or like I booked you a little massage because you've been really stressed recently. Like take the afternoon to go. Like just be cute. If you can't help with the wedding stuff, be cute and be supportive. That's all that we actually need from you. Okay, grooms, listen up. Surprise your brides and be romantic, because it's just cute and she'll really appreciate that, and it will give her the motivation to carry on. So I think in summary of what we've discussed, I think when you start wedding planning, delegate clearly what your roles are and what you're leading on. Even if it is just alcohol, DJ, venue, then you need to lead on that. You can't wait for the bride to be like, hey, have you looked for DJs? Hey, have you chased up the quotes? You lead on it, you get the quotes, you do the negotiating, and then you say, these are the options, this is what I'm thinking. Like let them things be your baby for the wedding. The next thing is have wedding free date nights, and leave your house, like you said, to do Wedmin, so it doesn't feel like you're going crazy inside. Brides, I think, obviously be organised, have set deadlines in terms of what you're doing, so you don't feel like your pressure's coming all at once. When it comes to anything physical, I think
don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I also think start early so that everything that you're doing is sustainable and you can fit it in with your routine, rather than deciding to like want to lose weight a month before your wedding and then you're doing like 8 workouts a week, but you don't have time for that because you're still working and you want supplier calls. So I think try and just get on everything early so that it can just be more manageable. And I just think have fun in it, because ultimately it is your wedding and it's your day. So like don't feel like you have to please everyone. I know that's really easier said than done. There's lots of different opinions, but the bottom line is like it should be a reflection of you and what you want, not what everyone else wants. And why don't you give a tip for the grooms?
Grooms, I think you should just be aware of what your partner is going through, because it can be a very stressful time for them. So if you can't think of anything to actually do in terms of the wedding planning process. Just like buy them some flowers or something like that.
Brides, you can thank us later.
Yeah. Anyways. And on that note, I think we should call it a day.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.